Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to another movie review. And been reviewing a lot of new films recently, but that I've been I reviewed a '90s one. Just my previous one was The Indian in the cupboard. But the past ones I've been reviewing a lot of new ones. So from this year and last year. So going back to reviewing a good old I think some people say it's not a good movie though, but an action film from the '90s, I would say. And I don't think it's not as bad as people make it out to be, though. And it's a Steven Seagal film. Some people consider it's one of his worst ones. Well, from in the '90s, but I'm pretty sure a majority of people think that is all. For me, like pretty much all of his directed video stuff are the worst. But for the '90s, though, I enjoyed a lot most of his films from the '90s. From the late '80s all the way up to the late '90s. But one of them was considered those ones considered one of his worst ones, and that is of On Deadly Ground. Came out in 1994, and it's the only film that Steven Seagal has directed. It's the only film the only film that he directed. And many people could say it's one of his worst films, and it got ridiculed by critics a lot. Now, this film, if people don't like this film, I fully understand why. I do. But in my perspective, though, I do have issues with it. But overall, it still was as an action film, it was still a fun film. I think Steven Seagal did a good job directing well out of the action, other than some couple of instead of a couple other things, which I'll get to though. But people have seen the film, already know what. But But he did a good job with directing on the action. But this is the only film that he directed, and on trivia that because his previous films have all been hits, and like before this, Under Siege came out, and that was his biggest hit he had, and people were wondering what his next film was going to be after a success like Under Siege was, and this is because since he was hailed to first time directing, things going to be a big hit, and they chose Warner Brothers. Okay, said you choose to direct this film, but the next year you agree to return to Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, and he said yes. So he directed this, and then the next year he came back for Under Siege 2, which Under Siege 2 is one of my all time favorite action films of all time, and my favorite Steven Seagal film. Um, but while his previous films have been hits, and while Under Siege was a hit, when this came out, the film bombed. It cost It cost 50 million, and only made 38 million, and so it was a flop. And it was considered a disappointment due to Seagal's success on the previous film, especially Under Siege. So it was very disappointing how the film made. And then that's when when people think about are showing concern about Steven Seagal's next line of work after this. But people find the film one of its worst ones. I have the films from the '90s. I fully understand why it's not a good movie too, but to me, I think it's as an action film. It's a fun film. And on the back here, it says from this person from San Francisco Chronicles, quoting, "It's in every way as equal of Under Siege." So, equal as Under Siege. I would kind of disagree with that. There's also one in here that says the best Seagal movie to date. Kind of disagree on that though, but with who are this one? Fort Lauderdale Sun Sentinel. I would disagree on both those things, but I think this is the best ones. Because my top three would be Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, then Out for Justice, and then the first Under Siege film. those are three of his best films, to me. But I still had fun with the film, even despite its issues. But also, what I felt made the film work is the cast. Um, you get Steven Seagal. You get your bad guy, which I think he did I think he did an awesome job as the bad guy. Michael Caine as your bad guy. I thought he did an awesome job as the villain, which his first name is Michael, his real life name Michael, but Jennings his name. I think he did a great job playing the bad guy. It was fun to see Michael Caine play a bad guy, um, especially with doing that because he's a guy he never loses his British accent though, but playing as a guy from an Alaskan person, just I think he did. But yeah, he did a great job as he was such a fun bad guy. I think he was other than when Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Busey, Evan McGill from Under Siege 2, and definitely other villains from Steven Seagal has faced in his other films. Michael Caine, he did a really good job. I think he plays like an underrated Steven Seagal villain. Definitely a lot better than the villains from his direct-to-video films. Definitely tell you that. So yeah, I give Michael Caine a definite thumbs up for playing this bad guy. It's cool to see him to play one as well. Joan Chen, who plays Native American woman from an Eskimo from Alaska, I thought she did fine as well. And you got other bad guys. You got John C. McGinley. He's like Michael Caine's right hand guy. He does a good job as well. Among other cast members for bad guys, you got the late Ermey, who passed away earlier this year. He plays a mercenary. He did a good job too. And you have an early role by Billy Bob Thornton. He plays a mercenary as well. In one of his earlier roles, because you can tell back then he was a little bit heavy set though, but you can tell it was one of his early roles though. It was fun to see him in there. And good cast of bad guys for this film. For pacing it's 101 minutes, but I thought it went at a good pace for the most part. Music by Basil Poledarius. I think he did the score for both Under Siege films. I think he did. So, but I love the score to Under Siege 2 a lot better than this though. But he did a good job with the score. And the whole story is that in Alaska, there's the oil rig about Aegis 1, and there's this oil rig that's the oil rig has problems, and Steven Seagal plays Forrest Taft. He's who works there. He works with Michael Caine, and and it looks like he's walking. There's actual real fire stuff going on, so no CGI fires in this film. So it's good fireworks, not punted fire stunt work. You see him just walking into the flames. He sets some charges, and he turns over. Everyone hits the ground except for Michael Caine. He just stands there, not looking phased. When Steven Seagal hits the button, and he turns to push the button, it explodes right behind him while he's looking at the camera. And basically, and also the whole thing, the gist of the plot for Michael Caine as a bad guy. He has Aegis 1. He has his oil rig is basically like a ticking time bomb. Basically, he has all this stuff that's has bad parts in it, but he wants us to to get a new lease on this, and for the money and all that, and more than that, just for on his oil as well. And if he doesn't get, like he said, like he said in the films, even in the trailers, if Aegis 1 is not online and operational in 13 days, then the oil rights will revert back to the Eskimos, and that is not going to happen. Michael Caine, he just makes a believable dialogue as a bad guy, I think as an action film, for an action film, he's a bad guy. Like he doesn't have to yell like I'll use a gun or anything to fight our hero in the film, right? But I think Michael Caine just pulled it off well. I think it's one of my favorite performances from Michael Caine. Honestly, there's a lot of films I like him in though, but it's probably because one of my favorite performances in it because you never ever see him hardly play a bad guy in a film, let alone an action film, and he did a good job with it. That's why I definitely give Michael Caine a pass on this. And there's a guy named what was a guy that Steven Seagal works with, a friend of his. What was the character's name? Let me see here. Joe, what was the Huey? I think that was the character's name, Huey. There's this old guy that works with him, and John C. McGinley and this other guy named Otto, tells him where these discs that because he found out what Michael Caine was doing and he hid the discs, these computer discs, and then John C. McGinley he's trashing the place to find the discs, and he was like, "Go to hell," and he's like, John C. McGinley's like, "Okay, all right," with a smile face, like, "Okay, I'll go to hell." And he gets this thing. It's like a club, but it's not made. It's not made. It's made. It's a type of material though, but it's very hard. And I think I got a little cringing seeing this because it's considered this guy's an old guy, and the guy Otto takes this club, this hard club, puts the guy one of his fingers on the table and just smashes it, and then he puts another finger on there, and then just smashes it. He's like, oh. That must have forgotten, especially for doing to an old guy, just breaking each of his fingers with his club. And then he goes to take like this pipe cutter, sticks it right in this guy's leg, even though it cuts what you don't see though, but it's implied though, this is what it's doing to him. And I was like, oh my god. How would such doing it to an old guy, it's just like, oh. And it's definitely, it's bloody enough, and that's another thing that Steven Seagal did a good job with the film, is he made a very bloody, violent action film. Especially that one, the cringing scene with torturing the old guy with a pipe cutter and breaking his fingers. Or if I mentioned another scene earlier, before that, in a bar, where some bar patrons are harassing this Native American guy, and actually the guy who was doing the most of the harassing, that was the guy from Dumb and Dumber. He was the henchman. When he was being picked up by Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, he's stuck in the middle, riding on their van, and you're right. Or when Jim Carrey, most annoying sound in the world, ah! And he's like, guys. Or when he actually got poisoned by the rat poisoning from the joke they pulled on with the burger. That guy. Yeah, he's the guy who was harassing this Native American, and Steven Seagal, he fights a couple of guys. He throws a guy overhead and one out the window. Gets like a lasso and throws a guy. Some good choreographed fight scenes. And then the guy from Dumb and Dumber is like, let's do the hand slap game. If I hit you, I get a punch. If I miss, you punch me. So, and he's just hitting the guy. He's slapping the guy's wrist every time. He's punching him in the stomach and then once in the face. And... And he said, did he say, I forget, he called the guy Cupcake, I think it was. Yeah, Cupcake. And he's just being the guy, just making the guy feel like crap in front of everybody. He's like, when Steven Seagal's telling the guy, how much does it take to change the conscience of a man? That's people will think that scene is silly, people with the hand slap thing, but it didn't bother me that much. I thought it was fun to see. And so that's another fun scene right there. So then leads up to the guy being tortured, and then Michael Caine asks Steven Seagal to do something for him to this shack over there in the snow. Basically, he sets him up and leaves him to try to kill him. He finds he's in the suit, and he finds his friend dead. And then there's a bomb explodes, and it's a really good actual stunt where the stunt guy fought, when escaping from the explosion. He flies forward from an actual explosion, not CGI explosion. He sees the guy flying forward. And that was actually a well done stunt. Just like I said, an actual stunt with an actual explosion in the back. Well done. And that's when he gets founded by the Eskimos. And this is where it gets to the first issue I have of the film is that good about how long would it be? I would guess maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20 at most. Where he's founded by the Eskimos. He takes them to their village to be healed. And then he gets this dream, like where he fights Bart the bear. Now Bart the bear, you've seen him in films. Just to name a few, where is it? Well, he was in The Edge with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin. I know that, and he was also in The Great Outdoors with John Candy and Dan Aykroyd. That's a fun film. The bear from 1988, the one that was like looking after the little bear. I like the bear. Other ones, Without a Paddle, White Fang, 12 Monkeys, Meet the Deedles. But Bart the Bear. In this dream where Seagal's fighting the Bart the Bear, and then he's like getting washed down a river, and the next thing he's back like in the village tent or whatever. You see like there's this dancing naked lady, and then you see an old woman watching. And I'm just like scratch. It just leaves me like scratching my head like this. Okay, what is up with this whole? It's because deal with the whole spiritual. How the tribe is. How any of the tribes are dealing with their spiritual ways and all that. And Joan Chen says something like you get die twice. I'm like, die twice? Where was this? Well, maybe escaping from an explosion, make it seem like they died once, but where's the second time? So this whole good part, which the whole spiritual dream scene, it's like really like scratching your head in confusion. Just I don't think that part was not needed in the movie. It just needed to just cut it off. It's like have him be healed, and then he's grateful for the tribe what they did, and then he goes on his merry way. It's not to stop the bad guys. All that can be trimmed down for a little bit, just for a good little portion. So yeah, it's just it was confusing. It was just confusing and just makes you scratch your head about it. And so after that, then John C. McGinley and a couple other people they go there to find where Seagal is at, and then John C. McGinley goes and shoots Joan Chen's father, who's the chief of the tribe. And then afterwards, then Joan Chen goes with Seagal to meet with a friend of his down in the cabin, and he gets some weapons. And here's another thing, a silly thing where, okay, he wants to shut down because they found the discs, right, that Huey hid, and it shows what Aegis 1 is doing and what Jennings is doing, Michael Caine is, and they start saying, maybe we should, go to the authorities, like in the Joan Chen is saying, go to the authorities and all that. And what are they gonna do? And Seagal is saying, like, you think all this hocus pocus spiritual bullshit is gonna do anything? You think a spiritual ghost is gonna save the day and all that? I mean, so it kind of deviates what he went through with the whole spiritual dream and all that stuff. He's like, oh, you think a spiritual ghost is gonna come out and save and all this? So it kind of deviates what he just went through for being healed. So, and he's like, I didn't want to resort to violence, but I said I have no choice. So he goes up, and Michael Caine hires some mercenaries, and being led by Ermey, named Stone. And so Ermey's asking him, how do you want him delivered? And then Michael Caine goes and just does like this. And Ermey goes, I see. So yeah, you didn't know what Michael Caine was saying just by his face expression. He was like this. So, like I said, great performance by Michael Caine. And then you get a good scene where they're all on horseback, and for a scene where he goes to this shack where he hid, where it has to get some explosives, some other stuff, and helicopters come in. Good explosion of the shack blowing up, and it just pushes the helicopter back. An actual model of a helicopter exploding, not CG'd, exploding. So it gets some actual explosions and stunt work and model work of a helicopter exploding, and then on horseback as well. It gets some good stuff on horseback um where Seagal lays another trap where two bad guys think because they found the trap that was easy to spot, but Arlie Ermey's like, hold it up, and then you get one guy who gets by there's a claymore there. You guys actually, like I said, it's bloody. You get this, like I said, it's a bloody film, and you have this where with one guy, like his whole entire section, like the torso and all this stuff, it just explodes in blood, and then just it's really bloody, and actual blood squibs everywhere. And then one guy gets smacked by a branch, and he falls and gets impaled by a branch. So, and they jump over a cliff, and they head to Aegis 1. And you get some more good actual blood squibs, not CGI blood, because that's how 90s action films were, full of blood squibs, not today. But, like where Steven Seagal, he makes like a homemade silencer where he takes like his gun and a empty soda bottle and just makes it like a makeshift silencer. He shoots one guy in the head, and actually looks at the squib going on the back of the guy's head. And during this one whole scene, with Arlie Ermey. Oh, and I want to get the quote right. I want to get the quote right. What he says, because it's like typical like stuff that Arlie Ermey says, like Full Metal Jacket style, where he's like one guy's like, it's like we're fighting an army, and then Arlie Ermey says, my guy in DC tells me that we're not dealing with a student here, we're dealing with the professor. Anytime the military has an operation they can't fail, they call this guy to train in the to train the troops. Okay, he's the kind of guy that would drink a gallon of gasoline and piss in your campfire. You could drop this guy off in the Arctic Circle wearing a pair of bikini underwear without his toothbrush, and tomorrow afternoon he's going to show up at your poolside with $1 million smile and a fistful of pesos. This guy is a professional, you got me? If he reaches this rig, we're all gonna be nothing but a big old goddamn hole right in the middle of Alaska. So let's go find him and kill him and get rid of this son of a bitch. Arlie Ermey, he did a good job with it as what he does. As a former drill sergeant to an actor, he did a really good job. From Full Metal Jacket, a good bad guy in this film, especially dealing with like some of his typical lines he has. I wouldn't be surprised if he ad-libbed his own line of that in that film. But oh, and I forgot. Speaking of more bloody violence, I forgot to mention. I always give it a mention. Like I always have a habit of skipping scenes I forgot to mention. After they get back from the village, they went back to Huey's place to find the discs, right? And like the character Otto and some other henchmen come in, and you get like where Seagal gets like a shotgun, shoots right a bad guy from above the ceiling, and you get like a nice big bloody squib right down where the guy's crotch is, and that was like a really cool bloody squib part, right? Especially for right below here in the crotch area. That was a cringing scene as well. And he shoots one guy and he shoots the guy in the face. And also, where he fights that guy, he gets that club that he beat Otto with. He hits him a couple of times, and also on trivia, where is that? Where would it? It was about where is it? Let's see. Yeah, okay. What was his name? Sven Thorson. The guy who played Otto. He was asked by Seagal to kick him to show how Sven was capable of, and he hesitated to kick Seagal, who caught his leg and threw him to the ground. So Seagal asked him to kick him again, giving him his best shot, and he did kick him as fast and hard, and he could actually as he could, and Seagal did fall to the ground. When shooting the scene together on the day or two later, Seagal hit Sven in the throat, resulting Sven being knocked out for 3 or 4 seconds. It looked realistic, so Seagal decided that his character Otto died, and Sven's remaining scenes were cut from the film. So I guess I guess the part when he did this, where to the character Otto and he fell to the ground, I guess that's actually when he actually knocked the guy out for 4 or 5 seconds and he kept it there. I don't know where to say that's a little bit messed up though or not though, but fight scenes were good as well. But yeah, I would disagree if that was actually messed up to just leave that in there. If see the guy actually knocked out for a few seconds though, but still, well, a craft fight scene. Yeah, sorry for that there. I just had to stop and refill my cup of milk here. So, I was saying, what was I at? Yeah, after that, those little stunt performance, but that he did with the actor who played Otto in that scene. But it's still a good scene though. For fight scenes, they like the bloody, more blood squibs and all that stuff. So after all that, then it gets to H1, kill some more bad guys, and Ermey's a funny speech he gives, and and Michael Caine once again delivering good performance. Like for another line he says to Johnson McGinley, he's like he's asking who the hell is this guy, and Michael Caine's like, all right, think of him as the ultimate nightmare, deep in the bowels of your soul. Right. And it won't even come close to what this son of a bitch is. Michael Caine, honestly, he sold it pretty well as a bad guy. And he gets in, starts killing more bad guys, and he takes out a few sections of the rig, and then we get some good gunfire as well, more blood squibs, and let's see. With Johnson McGinley, he gets he's trying to get a helicopter. He shoots it, and he pushes Johnson McGinley towards the blades of the tail of the helicopter. And Johnson's like, "Listen to me. If you want Jennings, you're gonna need me. I got books, tapes, files." And Seagal's like, "You better have in your pocket right now." And then he turns and just throws him to the blades, and yeah, it's cut away though. But you see, it cuts to the ground, blood splatter over the ground with his glasses flying as well. Yeah, it really cuts away, but it's implied though it's as a bloody death for Johnson McGinley. So yeah, I did not bother that, even though it's R rated and all that, and even though it was cut out, it was cut away though. I still think it was well done. It was because it's implied that he got a good bloody comeuppance for Johnson McGinley for the stuff that he did with a friend, shooting torturing his friend, and then shooting the tribeman, the chief. And then it's funny that the lady bad guy, who she sees him, right, and then she drives right into a fuel tanker and actually blows herself up. Good explosion of the vehicle blowing up, but she stupidly got herself killed. And then Billy Bob Thornton, he's with another guy, and they Seagal puts a bomb in an elevator, and then Billy Bob Thornton's like, "Here he comes, open wide, sweetheart." Starts shooting. He gets both of them blown up. They fly back down off the balcony, and then with Arlie Ermey, this is a really good one, where he says that it's basically like how he becomes Steven Seagal becomes like an eco-terrorist, trying to save the environment, right, for prevent oil spills. He says something like, he puts these charges where it's part of where the rig is, and it will cause it to implode, and it will prevent an oil spill. So I guess it won't spill out into the ocean, I guess, but still blowing up a rig it won't cause like like spew oil like elsewhere. This is another thing, another logic that's just kind of makes you scratch your head, like the whole spiritual scene, right? But it's like, okay, so I guess if it implodes right here, the oil spill won't go anywhere. Excuse me. But oh well, you either take it or leave it. That's why I think just take it or leave it. But then I guess what gets another good thing with Arlie Ermey, he has a shotgun and he's like, that's right, pal, make your move. And I'll stick this shotgun so far up your ass and blow the top of your fucking head off. And then it's Seagal, it's not even face, just stand there like this, just let Arlie Ermey run his mouth, and then all of a sudden just takes a shotgun, flips it underneath, and just blows a big old hole in Arlie Ermey. A really big old bloody hole into him. Just like, oh man. And there's a big old huge blood squid through Arlie Ermey. It was just really, oh man, that was such a bloody good scene right there. A bloody death for Arlie Ermey. Just flips it, just blows a big old hole in him, just sends him flying back, down some steps. See, and yeah, so Steven Seagal, he did a really good job with the bloody violence in this film, so I commend him for that. Well, of course, he had to give the hand to the cinematography and to the other people of the crew as well, but yeah, he didn't know how to do well with the violence and the gunfights and action scenes of the film. It's just the whole environmental stuff that the message, save the environment, all stuff, should have been left out. Didn't need to put that for an action film like this. Could have said that for a whole nother movie. Make a movie about the whole environment, all that stuff. But anyway, it's still a fun. It was still a fun action film as well. And then we get to with Michael Caine, and with Michael Caine, it's like, who's this? This is the slow bitch you've been banging. Oh, come on, Forrest. You and I buy hookers better than this down in Bangkok for $5 better down in Bangkok. And then Seagal's like, I've been thinking, what's to say that a man with no conscience? Be like an idiot to think that you care. You're a piece of shit, Michael. Scum of the earth. And then Michael Caine just goes a walk, thinking he's not gonna shoot him in the back, but then Seagal just takes wraps his foot around some wire, hangs him upside down, and Michael Caine's like, go ahead, shoot me, you fucking coward. You haven't got the fucking guts. You're a macho asshole. Go ahead, shoot. He shoots the rope, and just him screaming. He falls all the way down into his pit of oil, and basically, I guess he drowns in it. Because, they get the explosion and all that stuff. So he basically dies and drowns in his own wealth of oil. But I like how the way he screams, like, ah! I just like how the way he screams when he falls to his death. So then they get out of there as the whole rig explodes, which will prevent the oil spill. But it's actually a lot of good fire stunt work as the whole place is crumbling down. Well, it isn't. The building doesn't fully collapse, but it's shut down now. And then the film ends with him giving his speech about saving the environment, all that stuff, all the pollution, all that stuff, and like I think it was meant to be 11 minutes, but I was like, oh, that would be such a chore to watch through. It's him talking his speech about saving the environment and the pollution, all that stuff, and that would have been such a chore to sit through. So I'm glad they cut it down to like 5 minutes more, but still, should not kept that in the film, because as a fun action film, it's a fun action film, bloody, violent, and all that. But just leave the whole environmental, like save the environment, all that stuff, save for make it to its own movie, as like a documentary and all, or etc. So that shouldn't have been as a film. I get the whole thing he wants to as he is all into the save the environment and all that stuff though, but still, it should not have left the movie. So yeah, the whole spiritual scene, the whole spiritual chunk of it, with the spirits and all that stuff that's seen there, the dream where he had, and then the speech at the end, the save the environment speech, should just have been cut from the film. Would have been the film that was good enough pace as it is, but it would have made a much better pace if all those things were cut short. It'd be much more faster, shorter movie. But I guess that maybe that's the reason the film didn't do that well and people did not like it. There was like a instead of being like under siege and also people didn't want to see it. That's why the film bombed. I fully understand why. I do, just for those two issues there. And then that's why the film got ridiculed by critics, and it was nominated for six Razzies, and Seagal won for worst director. I mean, worst director. I think as the worst director, he did a good job with the action and the bloody violence, and the cast did a good job. So, but I'm like I said, I'm nitpicky on the Razzies and all that. So, but yeah, I understand why people don't like the movie. But it has a 4.4 on IMDb and has a 10% Rotten Tomatoes. I understand why though, but to me, I wouldn't. I've seen action films a lot worse than this, or any films in general a lot worse than this. Especially for the past couple of years, what I've seen on Deadly Ground is much better film in general or action film in general than some of the films that has come out in the past couple of years. But Steven Seagal, he did a good job of the film. Joan Chen was fine too. Michael Caine, a definite highlight of the film. I think he played a great bad guy in the film. I definitely give he definitely gives a really worthy and a fair performance for me from Michael Caine. He did a really great job. I know I'm probably overpraising him though, but I like Michael Caine as an actor, and it was just very fun for him to play a bad guy. Especially where, it's funny where he does a commercial where he's talking all nice and all this stuff, but he instantly does a instant flip where he's just an asshole in general. So he did a really great job. John C. McGinley was a good bad guy. Arlie Ermey as well, and nice to see Billy Bob Thornton in there. So you got a good cast of bad guys. The action scenes, like a lot of good fires, actual explosions. That one somewhere they flies forward from the explosion, or the bloody violence with the lot of actual practical blood squibs, like from the shot from the crotch area, or just for that one explosion, the guy in the explosion, just whole torso explode, bloody violence. Or especially with Arlie Ermey, who just blows a big old hole in him, with a shotgun. So yeah, he did a good job on shooting some bloody violence in the film. But I don't think it's as bad as people make. Well, I understand why though, but I don't think it's as bad as some other films. It's a hell of a lot better than pretty much all of his direct-to-video films. What do you think? Maybe becomes maybe 5 per year, and it's definitely a lot better than pretty much all of his direct-to-video films. I'll put it that way. Because, like I said, the films that I from the late '80s all the way to the almost the start of the 2000s have been really good films he's been made. Just Under Siege, probably because the whole environmental thing. Probably the film didn't do that well. Especially it was disappointing, especially when Seagal was coming off his big hit off the first Under Siege film. So people that were disappointed now, they were concerning what he goes from here after. But he goes on to do Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, which I love. But then later onwards, his problem with Warner Brothers, he wanted out of it though. But I don't know. Fun action, fun bloody violence, fun bag, let alone a great bad guy. And I think Steven Seagal did a good job with directing for his first and only time as a director. Well, leave out the whole environmental stuff out of it, and the whole spiritual stuff out of it. It was just scratching your head confusingly for the spiritual scene, but still, and leave out the whole save the environment speech at the end. But still, I enjoy On Deadly Ground. I still enjoy it. To me, it's not a bad movie. To me, not worthy of a 10%. I'd give it a little more higher though, but still, I would definitely understand why people don't like it though. But I fully understand. But to me, I enjoy the film on Deadly Ground. Especially this is, yeah. I don't think it's not as bad as. I'm sure people now in the films now are nowadays. I'm sure people will look back saying, "Oh, you know what? It's not as bad as people as we've made it out to be in the past." But who knows? I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself. So I still enjoy the film. Fun action film, still is for a Steven Seagal film. But anyway, that's my review on Deadly Ground. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned on the next movie review. Later.